We can get into the sectors a little bit afterwards, but I wanted to start with this historical tendency for the markets to do well around the midterm election. Why is that, even when there's so many different upsets every 4 years?
Well, you know, some people would argue that it's a little bit of a confidence booster for the general public. So, in other words, if you're, between presidential elections, people are often dissatisfied. A vote for the for your candidate is a little bit of, hey, we can change what's not working, right?
Okay.
And so there's a little bit of a general optimism that I think creeps into the markets. And that may be part of that.
And what we're seeing this time around is certainly consistent with that, with, for instance, the SPDR ETF gaining about 8% since the low in mid-October.
Sure. Of course, there's a lot of other factors going on,
yes,
too. You know,
central banks, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Little details like that. And I would argue, sort of are the bigger important forces right now in the markets than what happened last night. Nonetheless, what happened last night is still very relevant. And it's interesting to point out that, you know, if you've had going back 60 years, if you have a Democratic president and a Republican Congress, that's actually been, generated the best returns during those periods versus other scenarios.
Well, witness 1994 and what got accomplished then.
Exactly.
Let's talk specifically about sectors. Sure. Energy companies, right, medical device makers,
sure,
and maybe financials are those that might feel the biggest impact.
Right. CEOs of those companies right now are probably feeling a lot better today than they might have been earlier this year. Within the energy sector, clearly, they need all the help they can get right now, given what's been happening to oil prices there. But I think it's also kind of nuanced. So pipelines, Keystone is a much better shot at getting through here, but that puts more oil into the Gulf. That's good for refiners. But at the same time, you've got the export ban is probably going to, that dismantling will accelerate here.
Gotcha.
And that may offset that for companies like Valero, for example.
All right, very quickly, Michael, we got to look ahead to ECB taking place tomorrow. Sure. What do you expect to happen? Well,
I think what Mario really has to address is this Reuters story that broke yesterday about, there's sort of dissension among the ranks, his managerial style there. So I think he and the bank have to come out very aggressively in a much more, hey, we're all on one page, we're all on one team type of thing. If they fail to do that, I think that's going to, leave a lingering cloud for the markets.
Well, the history has shown that it has a tendency to build up expectations and then disappoint after the actual policy announcements made.
Exactly.
Michael Purves of Weeden & Company.